Well, we're a couple short weeks away from Ten of Swords. In fact, we've already started getting comics saying leading to Ten of Swords. Should the leading to Ten of Swords titles be counted in the total comic count for Ten of Swords? I don't know. Too many questions. Anyway, we're looking at some X-Men news. So just kind of recapping what we've heard, some comments from the creative teams, from Jordan White, from others. Going to talk a little bit about how the comics are made and what that all looks like. Hey everybody, this is Perch. Dawn of X is coming up on a year old now, since the X-Men was kind of reborn with House of X, Powers of 10. It's been popular, but as I've talked about in the past, a lot of titles have come into the mix, and certainly there's been some exhaustion, for lack of a better word, just of the amount of books that now make up this line. Because for a while, there was at least a belief that you could, buy them all. And that has kind of gone away. It's now, it's just now not feasible anymore for you to collect all the comics unless you really want to. But then you're paying quite a bit. So we've seen, of course, we don't have full numbers. The pandemic hit right as kind of the X-Men series was really pushing bigger and bigger, and so we haven't really seen an impact on what things look like. The numbers are all wacky and certainly not reliable at the moment. If we look at like the April numbers, we just don't. First of all, we don't really have them, and then anyway, everything's all mixed up. But if we take a look at go back to January and you look at the comic sales, you do see that certainly, as you'd expect, X-Men's leading at the top, then probably X-Force, Wolverine starts to be in there, but then it starts to drop off. New Mutants, Excalibur. What's interesting is, and we'll get to it more in a moment, but Teenie Howard has a lot of kind of pull right now in what's going on in the X-Men universe, along with Hickman. I'd say she's probably at least from all reports, the second. I think that it's that the title's not selling at the level you'd expect. When you get to Excalibur, for example, you're down to 48,000 copies a month, which is just not a huge number. In some months they're double shipping, you're at 45. Marauders down around 44. And down it goes. And this was in January when things were a little bit hotter. I think as you move into February, then you're starting to get a little bit more kind of view of what things are going to look like with, things like even X-Men Fantastic Four by Zdarsky that was billed very strongly. Number one, it sold 56,000 copies. And then, then it dropped 48 for issue 2. You get things like X-Force, number 7 was down around 42. It's dropping. I'm trying to see how many of these go into the 30s. Yeah, Marauders, New Mutants are down 38,000. So anyway, I say all this for a reason, and that's we're seeing the titles dip a little bit. And so we're heading into Ten of Swords, and that's expected certainly to boost some sales, particularly from the lower end, because it's a chapter-based event, so you're going to have this. But the other thing that's going on with Ten of Swords and with the X-Men line in particular, as was revealed in this interview with Jordan White, was that the team is now really committing to, I don't know, for lack of a better word, tight continuity amongst themselves. So they're having regular video conferencing, meaning just like your kids are for school right now, they're getting on Zoom, and they're just spending a lot more time to go through drafts, look at plots, throw out ideas, and try and fit things together seamlessly. Now, I'd love to have a clip of what those calls are like, but it's actually, in some ways, it's an editor's dream that the editor gets to kind of sit on the call, all the creators come on, they kind of say what's going on, they coordinate amongst themselves, get things all kind of alignment. The editor gets to almost take a back seat to maybe steer, or depending on the voices in the room, maybe just kind of write down the notes and be ready to go. So we should be seeing really tight connectivity with all the X titles. Now, I would just say, having read them all, and this isn't a bash on the titles, some feel connected, some do not. It doesn't feel as tight and seamless as you'd expect. There's the reading order in the back of the comics, but it's not like you're really getting kind of page-to-page handoffs between books. Nor am I suggesting you should. But when you're pushing that, you're having very tight Zoom meetings, and everybody's helping pitch in. That's not necessarily how it's coming across as a reader. I get that you're putting in the time. Now, Ten of Swords may absolutely have more of that feel, but it kind of comes down to I just have a hard time believing that that this is that hard. And by that I mean, okay, so you have an event and you have a team. How hard is it to really coordinate from book to book? It didn't used to be that hard, but it seems to be like this monumental kind of Herculean task in how they're describing it now. At any rate, we get some news, in Ten of Swords creation number 1, Pepe Larraz, and he's back. So him and RB Silva really have been putting a lot of work into the X titles to date. So this is basically reinforcing that Ten of Swords does come from the tarot. Teenie Howard is billed as the tarot card expert. She came up with the name of the story, and that she's been kind of guiding a lot of the mythology around that. So Teenie Howard wrote all the solicits based on what happens in the issue, a little prophetic fortune. So it kind of all is in that style. And very much a tower. So we're getting a lot of. If you're a big tarot card fan, you're going to get a lot in this issue, in this event, I should say. So again, this is, I think, really the first time we're seeing heavy amounts of Teenie Howard, and we're seeing Jonathan Hickman team up. But it feels like their event. So what else do we know? Well, bad things happen to Eunice the Untouchable. So something is he's getting ex-crucified or something. We've seen the little bits of that scene. We're hearing that Storm has a very huge moment in this series, but then also she's going to have a huge moment for herself in 2021. They're saying she's going to be a major player within the X-Men. You kind of got that feeling during Powers of 10, where she was kind of the evangelist for the reborn X-Men when they kind of returned to life. That she was taking on. Obviously, she's been a leader of the X-Men before, but she's going to have a bigger role here. There still is this sword breaker of Araku, who is a classified member of the villain kind of team, where the enemy is going up against the X-Men. And there's who is that person? It's a secret. There's a lot of speculation. It is Storm. Might be. If it's Storm, she's going to have a busy second half of the year and next year, but it also is possible that we're getting somebody else there. Storm in continuity books, and this is again where I get back to, this stuff doesn't feel like it's fitting together as much as people claim. In the giant size issue, she was infected with a virus from the Children of the Vault, which was one of the pretty interesting, I think, plots that Hickman kind of threw out there. But doing the one and done issues, we're not getting as much of those. Can we just cut maybe some of the comics where they're crossing over into Empire and fighting plants, and like the Vulcan issue was nice and all, but can we get back to what's going on? At any rate, we are obviously Ten of Swords. It's going to center heavily around Apocalypse as well, and he's been friendly with the X-Men, but he's been up to some shenanigans over in Excalibur, so that's to continue. I've said this before in a video, but if you're interested in Ten of Swords, you're trying to figure out how to get up to speed on it, I think if you have not been reading Excalibur, if you've been ignoring that title or you just haven't caught up on it, I think you're going to be super lost if you are not very plugged into what's going on there. Because certainly Apocalypse and a lot of his kind of manipulations are very heavily involved, as well as Hickman's X-Men, the adjectiveless X-Men, where we learned a bit about Apocalypse's former Horseman and Summoner and some of these characters. These are the big deals. So at any rate, the other little bit of news that we've had, there are, lots of people are getting swords, and some people will have the wrong swords. Apparently that's a plot point that Hickman came out with, but lots of fancy swords kind of fighting, and a promise that the whole kind of way that the X-Men universe put death on its head, that the joke that death was meaningless within the Marvel universe because people would just be brought back to life, was taken to another level. I think this was part of Hickman's pitch. What if we leaned into that and just took death off the table completely and eliminated as any kind of concern? What would that world look like? And that's what we've been seeing in X-Men, where death doesn't really have the same stakes that it's had in the past. And so apparently that is going to get touched on in Ten of Swords in a pretty big way, that there's going to be like that other shoe drop. of what it means to have, characters that are for all intents and purposes immortal, and what kind of sacrifices, what kind of things are a problem when you have this dynamic with the characters. And so that's going to be an interesting, who knows, maybe they resurrect somebody before the old person was truly dead, and so then we're gonna have twinsies running around. I mean, that's the problem. Who knows? At any rate, these are all the things we have to look forward to. So I know a lot of people on this channel are either very interested or very exhausted of Dawn of X. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more information as we get ready for this next big event, and we'll see where it all goes. Hey, you have any comments, questions, things that you're looking forward to or not looking forward to? Leave a comment below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications if you feel like it. Follow me on social media, send me an email, all those things. Most importantly, thanks for listening.